Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. So got another little project we're going to be working on today out here at the Georgia Museum of Agriculture. This is a big Powell steam whistle that we've actually had on our steam locomotive now for probably about a month. This is a whistle that I guess you could say was put on loan to us by a gentleman by the name of Kevin Wood, who lives up outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Kevin actually works for CSX Railroad up there and is a longtime railroad buff, is actually a steam locomotive engineer himself. Used to work at Stone Mountain Park back in the 80s when they ran live steam there and helped care for those locomotives, and as well as engineering on those locomotives, as well as some other locomotives. He comes down here from time to time and gives us a hand with our locomotives, usually on special events when we need some help. And anyway, last time he came down about a month ago, he brought along this whistle, wanted to put it on our locomotive and try it out. It's a whistle that he has had for years and years, and he said, you know, it's been sitting on my fireplace at the house. It's not doing me any good. He says, I wanted to hear it blow, so we put it up on the steam locomotive, and he used his whistle the day he was here. And at the end of the day, he said, you know what, I think I'm just going to let y'all hang on to that. He says, it's not doing me any good, so we've had it up on the locomotive now for a while. It's a nice whistle. It's a 3-chime whistle, so you got the dome up here on the top, and there's actually 3 different chambers in here, and in 2 of them there's ceilings, so they're at different heights. And what happens is when you blow this, you get a chime. It blows 3 different notes that form a chord, and it makes a musical chord rather than just a single note, and it sounds real nice. This one, having a fairly tall dome on it, also has a real deep note to it, low note to it, which is nice because you can really hear it a long ways off without having as much volume on it. Our other whistle, the smaller whistle that we've been using for a while, is a much higher note, and particularly with the kids out here, you know, it really hurt their ears. I think this one here, although it's loud, it's not that high pitch note, and anyway, I think it sounds a little bit better, and people seem to like it. So what are we going to be doing to it? It's got a couple of little issues, nothing too major. There's a couple of steam leaks around it. So around the valve here, there's just some steam leaking out. We need to do some work on that. When Kevin brought it down, we actually pulled it out that morning, and the valve that's in there, it's got a pretty bad steam cut in it. So I need to look at that, and we lapped it real quick just to get it up on there, but that's leaking some steam too. And I need to figure out what we need to do with that, whether I can face it on the lathe or whether I need to make a whole new valve. I've done that before on some different whistles, just make a new valve for it. So we're going to get in there and try to figure that out. But mainly trying to stop a couple of leaks on here, tighten it up. You know, we may do something with the spring. The spring could really be just a little bit tighter. So anyway, like I said, we're going to break into this and see what we can do to work on it, and try to get this whistle reconditioned in a little bit better shape and put it back up on the steam locomotive. All right, we'll start by taking the lever here off, and we got I think that was just on there as a jam nut, and then this nut is actually threaded in this side. So we had the longer nut in there with a jam nut on there, hopefully to keep it from coming apart. Alright, pull that off. Alright, so now I want to get in here and pull the valve out, and to do that, this little cap here has to come apart. There it goes. There we go. There's the spring. And there's the valve. Well, guys, looks like this project is going to be over before we ever really get started with it good. We have run into a problem with this whistle, and I have some real concerns over the safety of it, and because of that, we've decided that we're not going to use this whistle anymore. So I knew that it had been repaired. You could tell there was some brazing done down here on the bottom at some point in time, but I really didn't realize how bad the original damage this thing was, and when I look at it, it really just scares me to death. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this and try to explain to you why we're going to not use this whistle. So I don't know the story as to what happened to this, but you can tell from the scars what happened. I don't know how it happened, but I know what happened. So at some point in time, the whole bottom of the part that screws down onto the boiler, the whole bottom part was broken off, and there's a clear crack on the inside of this all the way around this. And right here in this section here, there's 1, 2, 3 different pieces that this had broken into. It's brazed up on the outside. On the inside, on the thread, you can still clearly see the cracks in there. In fact, this piece here is not even in line. You know, this thread's on there pretty good, and that's where our steam leak was coming, because the threads just aren't sealing up around that. But what really has me concerned is the structural integrity of this brazing job. I mean, this whole piece had been come off, and you know, even though it's brazed up on the outside, you got a lot of pressure on this when that cord is being pulled. You got a lot of upward pressure on here from the steam. You got 150 pounds of steam coming up on this thing, and steam is expansive. It has a lot of power to steam. That's why steam works so good in the engine. But you know, you hear about boiler explosions, and they're really bad because of all the energy that's in that expansive power of the steam. If this were to break off, it would be really, really bad. So another thing that really, I guess, influences me on the decision to basically decommission this whistle, at least for use out here, it goes back to a story that I've heard many times that happened here at the museum years ago, long before I was involved in the museum. But they used to have a steam traction engine that they used out here. In fact, we still have the steam traction engine, but it's not operational right now, again, due to boiler problems. But they had a volunteer that brought a whistle out one time, his personal whistle, put it on there, and it had been repaired similar to this. And in the process of using it one day, it blew off. It broke. And when it did, the story that I've heard is the whistle went up in the air. It went clear out of sight, and as the old saying goes, what goes up must come down. It came down and hit the ground and buried itself probably 3 or 4 inches in the ground. There was a crowd of people around. Fortunately, it didn't hit anybody. You know, no damage was done, but it was a very strong lesson in the power of steam. And you know, this being a museum with a lot of people coming out here and visiting, the last thing that we want to have is a whistle blow off of our locomotive. I mean, this thing probably weighs 25, 30 pounds, and with 150 pounds of steam behind it, it would be a rocket going up into the sky. And if it came down and were to hurt someone, it'd be a really bad day. So anyway, we're just going to play it safe, and you know, we've got the other whistle, and we'll put it back on there. In fact, I'll show you that whistle too. So this is the whistle we have been using on the steam locomotive. It's also a 3-chime whistle. It has the 3 chambers in it. Again, got the different ceilings in here, 3 different heights, so you get a chime on it. And but it's, as you can see, it's a smaller diameter, it's a smaller height, and because of that, it's a much higher pitch whistle than this deeper note that this one produces. This one here was made by the Buckeye Brass Works out of Dayton, Ohio. And it's in great shape. This actually is my personal whistle that I bought many years ago, and it's just been on the locomotive for years and has done a good job. So, you know, back to the Powell, man, I really like it, but it's just not safe to use as it is. You know, we may look at seeing what we can do to restore this thing, fix it up. And what I'm thinking is if we can get this piece separated, I want to talk to Kevin and make sure he's fine with me taking this thing apart. But you know, we may, you know, with the 3D modeling that we can do now and generating patterns out of 3D printers, you know, this may be a candidate that we just make up a pattern and cast a new valve body to go down here and just make a whole new body for this thing. And with that, I think it would be safe to use. But as it is now, we're not going to do that. So I don't know. That may be a project one day. Like I said, I want to talk to Kevin about this before we make any decisions on what we're going to do. But we may try to see if we can redo another one here at some point in time. So anyway, we're going to put this whistle back on the locomotive and have her ready to go for Saturday. Well, I guess for now we're just going to put this one back together, and there it goes. Put the spring back in there, and well, that's kind of a bummer, guys. I had really had high hopes of working on this, and I thought I'd make a neat project, but safety first. We're going to have to put this one on the back burner. Thanks for watching.